The voice debate heats up with both sides of politics taking snipes at each other. Bank branches look to stop providing cash. And Threads, the new competitor to Twitter, signs up 5 million users in just 4 hours. It's Friday, the 7th of July, 2023. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, after the show, you were speaking today with Ben Bars, CEO of consulting agency We Are Unity.
Yeah, so we talk about whether a company needs purpose. And I must say, I went into the interview thinking Ben was going to say, don't get too caught up on purpose. We kind of finished the interview at the opposite end. Purpose really is a North Star, but it's got to be a pragmatic purpose. It can't just be some lofty statement that someone high up in their business comes up with.
Like save the world or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's well worth, it's just a really interesting insight into purpose and culture and that sort of thing within an organisation.
All right, well worth a listen. It's coming up later on. The main story this morning, Sean, federal parliament. It's not sitting at the moment, but the pollies are certainly out and about. The debate over the voice referendum remains the main topic of interest.
Yes, there's plenty going on around the voice debate. Opposition leader Peter Dutton yesterday said Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's obsession with the voice to Parliament has distracted him and his government from better managing the economy. Clearly, the opposition believes it's making political ground by opposing the voice. Albanese rejected the opposition leader's comments and said Dutton was more interested in culture wars than the economy. Indigenous Australians Minister Linda Burney accused Dutton of being a bully boy for criticising big businesses supporting the voice referendum and again claimed the No campaign was using Trump-style politics. Then an interesting one, New South Wales State Liberal MP Matt Keane, who supports the voice to Parliament, notwithstanding he's a Lib, accused the No campaign of running a racist trope, T-R-O-P-E, of Yes campaigner Thomas Mayo, who is Indigenous, in a full-page ad in the Australian Financial Review. Now, the ad also depicts Teal Curtin MP Kate Chaney sitting on the lap of her father, Wesfarmers chair Michael Chaney. Wesfarmers has donated $2 million to the Yes 23 campaign. Now, I don't know if you've seen the ad, Michael, but it's very, very close to the line at best. Late in the day yesterday, a spokesperson for Nine, who of course owns the Financial Review, said that the political advertisement about the voice referendum in the paper should not have run, and Nine apologised for that. It said it wants to encourage a mature debate from both sides and avoid personal and or inappropriate attacks. Finally, on the voice, Michael, Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe claims she's been excluded by the coalition from contributing to the no case in the official voice referendum pamphlet and will instead issue her own statement to voters outlining why the voice is not a step in the right direction.
All right, so that's certainly dominating, Sean. But there was also plenty of back and forth yesterday over the decision by Donald Trump Jr., the former president's eldest son, to cancel his tour to Australia.
He was scheduled to make appearances in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne between July 9 and July 11, but organisers said the tour had been postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. There was a lot of talk that he hadn't received a visa, but the government rejected that. At one point, Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill weighed in saying he was a bit of a sore loser. She tweeted, "He's just a big baby who isn't very popular." She was immediately criticised for that one and deleted the tweets.
If you put aside kind of the politics of it all, remember we've talked in the past about the fact that Claire O'Neill
she puts it on the table.
just good value in terms of, she just tells you exactly what she's thinking at the time, and in politics that's pretty rare, and it's also not very compatible with modern politics, is it?
No, he's just a big baby who isn't very popular. Well, there you go. I think the immigration minister also came out yesterday and suggested maybe he just hadn't sold enough tickets. Anyway, that was going on. And finally, a little bit more serious, Australia's practice of using hotels as makeshift detention facilities for refugees and asylum seekers is lawful, but it fails the tests of basic humanity, according to Federal Court Judge Bernard Michael Murphy in a landmark ruling he made yesterday.
Goodness me, plenty of drama in politics, considering Parliament wasn't even sitting.
Exactly. And plenty of drama in the local market yesterday as well, Michael.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, it closed down 1.2%, which is quite a big fall to 7,163 points. It followed a poor lead-in from Wall Street, also worries about the Chinese economy. Close to 80% of the top 200 stocks fell yesterday, including most of the large caps. In fact, only 4 of the top 25 stocks ended the day higher: WiseTech Global, REA, Goodman Group and Xero. Henceforth, Michael Thompson, I'm going to say it, there was a sea of red ink.
Yes. Oh, I love it. We haven't had a sea of red ink for a couple of weeks, and I've been craving a hit.
Yeah. So Wesfarmers was down nearly 3%, BHP 2.5%, ANZ led the banks lower, falling more than 2%. Aristocrat Leisure and Newcrest Mining were also down 2%. The big faller was Magellan, the one-time market darling. Its share price fell 8% after the manager said investors withdrew a further $2.1 billion from the fund during the June quarter, taking the amount of money it manages to less than $40 billion. The actual performance during the quarter was pretty good, but funds just keep leaking from the business. Now, at its peak in late 2021, Magellan looked after $116 billion. It's now down to less than $40 billion. Its share price peaked around $74. It closed yesterday at $8.92. Ouch. Another company that's really struggled over the past 12 months is the Star Entertainment Group. It can't seem to find any friends either. It announced some new board members yesterday and its share price dropped almost 8%.
Would you take that personally if you're one of those board members?
I would. Its share price is now trading about 1/4 of its pre-COVID level.
All right, what's happening on international markets?
Well, Michael, the minutes of the US Federal Reserve's last meeting show that the world's most important central bank intends to lift interest rates higher. That pushed Wall Street lower and also fed through to other markets, including ours. Almost all participants of the Federal Reserve Committee thought it appropriate to pause raising the cash rate at the June meeting. But the fact it wasn't a unanimous decision spooked markets. That's what caused the sell-off in equity markets globally. Now, tonight's data on the US labour market takes on much greater significance as a result. Otherwise, most commodity prices fell, but not gold, which is considered a safe haven. And the Aussie dollar did okay. It's trading just under 67 US cents.
All right, there's a bit on. We'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, childcare fees in metropolitan areas are higher than in regional areas, despite there being more competition in city suburbs. This is according to competition watchdog chairwoman Gina Cass-Gottlieb.
Yes, Cass-Gottlieb's comments followed the release of a report by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, which found fee increases are outstripping inflation and wages growth by as much as 15%. Now, she said the fact that prices are higher in more competitive geographies is quite a conundrum for the competition regulator because, of course, that works against the way economics works. Normally, more competition, lower prices. Quite the opposite's happening. Cass-Gottlieb went on to say it occurred where there is generally higher income and capacity to pay. Perhaps that's the solution. The competition watchdog will consider whether childcare centres are gouging customers, though.
Australia has recorded another healthy trade surplus, helped by strong commodity exports.
The May surplus came in at $11.8 billion, which was about $1 billion higher than expected. It will add to economic growth during the June quarter. Now, the numbers jump around a bit, but certainly we are running some very big monthly trade surpluses at the moment. Exports were up 4.4%, with coal and iron ore shipments rising. Imports were up 2.5%, thanks to a bunch of new cars arriving at our docks.
All right. Now, this is an interesting story, Sean. Stockbroker Open Markets will pay the biggest penalty the corporate regulators market disciplinary panel has ever imposed due to several instances of suspicious trading and compliance failures.
Yes, Open Markets has been ordered to pay $4.5 million, and the fine comes with a banning order for one of the broker's former traders who won't be able to provide financial services for 3 years after she took a $2,000 payment to give stock tips to a client. She was also found to have had inappropriate talks with a client, which tripped up several compliance alerts. According to the Financial Review, ASIC said the broker may have been on the hook for an even larger penalty, if not for entering a court-enforceable undertaking with the regulator.
All right, Sean, let's Let's not take this next one too personally. Australia is no longer considered a trusted supplier of LNG, liquefied natural gas, and Japan will seek new sources for gas in Alaska and other parts of the world, according to one of Japan's top energy advisors.
Japan's Institute of Energy Economics chief executive Tatsuya Terazawa told the Financial Review that Australia is no longer a candidate to make up any shortfall from reduced LNG supply from Russia. It's a response to the Albanese government's policy to force gas operators to cut emissions or pay for carbon offsets. While previously quiet about its concerns, Japanese officials have intensified public criticism of Labor's safeguard mechanism policies, which of course kicked in on July 1. New gas fields developed to supply existing LNG plants have to be net zero emissions from the outset. Mr. Terazawa said the Albanese government should help Japanese operators pay for some of these carbon credits for projects already underway.
All right, now I mentioned this one at the top of the show, Sean. Banks are slowly cutting cash from branches, which was unthinkable just a few years ago, wasn't it? With customers now urged to call ahead to make sure there is money available. I find this quite remarkable.
So I went to the bank only in the past couple of days and I said, I want to get an amount of cash out. And for me, I thought it was a significant amount of cash. And the woman said, well, we may not be able to give that to you. How much is it? And I told her, and she was like, oh, no, that's no problems whatsoever. So clearly it wasn't quite as much as I thought it was.
Keeps you grounded, doesn't it?
That does. But the point being, she actually said there was only so much cash I could get out. And I hadn't really thought much about that. And then this story has come up. Now, there's still definitely a cash economy in Australia. People withdrew $8.5 billion from ATMs in April, according to the Reserve Bank. But banks are just going a bit cold on cash. ANZ and National Australia Bank are no longer allowing cash withdrawals over the counter at some branches, according to a story in The Australian. While the other two, Commonwealth Bank and Westpac, do dispense cash at all their branches, it can be a bit problematic when it comes to large amounts. That has triggered a social media furor this week when a Queensland woman complained she was unable to withdraw $3,500 from her local ANZ branch. Experts are now telling customers to call first to make sure there's enough cash in the branch before visiting. The whole concept of branches not having cash, though, is, well, quite extraordinary, really.
Yeah, it really is. International news time. Threads. We talked about this a few days ago, and now it's kind of up and running. This is social media giant Meta's version of Twitter. Threads had a lot of signups. Boss Mark Zuckerberg said there were 2 million signups in the first 2 hours and 5 million in the first 4 hours. Did you know, Sean, that I personally was nearly in the first million?
Were you really?
I felt quite proud of that. And you get your little number. You get a little number that tells you in what order you joined. And I'm like 1,010,000 or thereabouts.
Is that right?
I feel like a little bit of a celebrity.
Yeah. The first post was from Zuckerberg himself. He said, let's do this. Welcome to Threads. Like Twitter, the app features short text posts that users can like, repost, and reply to, although it doesn't include any direct message capability. Posts can be up to 500 characters long and include links, photos, and videos up to 5 minutes long, according to a Meta blog post. It's available in more than 100 countries on Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store. The fact that Threads is tied to Instagram, which is also owned by Meta and has 2 billion users, should give Threads a pretty good head start. Plenty of Aussies joined up, Fear and Greed being one, Michael, Anthony Albanese being another.
Yeah, and if you do head to Threads, if you do join up, you can find Fear and Greed. Fear and Greed Podcast is our handle on there, the same as it is on Instagram. And I tell you what, you're right, Sean, the fact that it is tied to Instagram, and when you sign up to Threads, it can just import all of your information directly from Instagram, including everyone that you follow and all of those people that follow you. And so it does just make it very easy. I know there's been potential competitors to Twitter in the past, but this is, having spent a little bit of time playing around with it yesterday, it actually feels like Twitter, but it actually feels quite clean and quite new. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes over the coming weeks and months. Moving on, Tesla and China's top electric vehicle makers, including BYD, which is one that you've talked about quite a lot, Build Your Dreams, is that right?
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Yeah, they've pledged to maintain fair competition and avoid, quote, abnormal pricing in the world's biggest EV market.
That pretty much means an end to the 2023 price war that has hit the industry in China, at least. These companies, of course, compete ferociously in other markets like Australia, so who knows? Tesla triggered the price war at the end of last year, prompting other major brands to join in with steep discounts in the earlier part of 2023 to attract customers as sales slowed. According to Bloomberg, Elon Musk's Tesla and BYD, which is China's biggest car brand, are at the forefront of the battle. They've cut prices by an average of 6% through the first 5 months of the year. Don't expect to see any more reductions.
All right. And finally, Sean, Saudi Arabia plans to launch a multi-billion-dollar investment company to expand its sports interests following its power-grabbing golf and success in English soccer, according to the Financial Times.
The sports group, which will be part of the kingdom's sovereign wealth fund, will have a war chest to fund its expansion beyond golf and football. The $650 billion public investment fund has made a string of sports investments in recent years, flexing its financial might in a sector disrupted by the coronavirus pandemic. Saudi government officials say it's part of an ambitious overhaul of the economy. They're seeking to diversify beyond the oil sector while attracting tourism and investment. The public investment fund created a rift in the world of golf when it launched the Live circuit last year, spent billions to lure top players away from the US PGA. The Public Investment Fund governor actually chairs Newcastle United, the English soccer club that the Sovereign Wealth Fund bought in 2021. The team, which was struggling at the time, it finished fourth in last season's Premier League. Bit of money helps there. It's now qualified for the UEFA Champions League, which is a top European competition. Expect to see more money. Tennis seems to be one that they're looking at.
All right. Up next is a Fear and Greed Daily interview, and today you're speaking with Ben Bars from We Are Unity.
Yes, all about. He's got a really interesting background, Ben himself, and he's worked with a lot of big corporates, a lot of household names, about things like purpose and what flows from purpose within an organisation and how to improve culture and things like that. It's a fascinating chat.
Yeah, it really is. It's coming up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 7th of July, 2023. Make sure you're following the podcast and join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I suppose even Threads. Make sure you stay up to date on all the business news with Alexa and your Amazon Echo smart speaker. Simply say, Alexa, play the Fear and Greed podcast to catch the latest episode. You can get yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.